Are you going to sleep with Sherry or not? My wife shouted at me. She immediately covered her mouth with her hand and started laughing. Honestly, it wasn't the first time she had asked me. It was just the most direct question. We weren't that kind of couple. We weren't swingers, we weren't dissolving our marriage. It was something else. My wife, Tina, and Sherry had always been friends. They grew up together, did everything together, shared everything. For years, they had dreamed of having children at the same time. They wanted their children to be able to grow up together. Tina had just found out she was pregnant. This immediately caused a problem. Sherry didn't have a boyfriend right now and wasn't likely to become pregnant anytime soon. I have no idea what discussion took place the first time. I only know when Tina first broached the subject. We sat in front of the fireplace. I was enjoying a nice glass of wine. Tina was enjoying her hot chocolate. I said, "Have you ever thought about getting Sherry pregnant by you?" Unexpectedly, Tina asked. I almost spit out my wine. And Tina went on to give a summary of her conversations with Sherry. It started with Sherry complaining that Tina had horniness on demand and she couldn't even get a date. That part I didn't understand. Sherry was hot. Miniature, only 5'2". Tall, she had a slender body and cute little breasts. Her blonde hair fell to her shoulders. She wasn't as sexy as Tina, but very close. Tina was a little taller, 5'7", with long, dark brown hair, and she had a more classic pin-up physique, lush hips, and to top it off, a set of C's. They were upset that their dream of their children growing up together was crumbling. You can imagine it was just a small step forward for Tina when she suggested I fill in the missing piece. It seemed like the best idea. Suddenly their children would be stepbrothers or sisters in addition. Once this idea was brought up for discussion, the discussion began. They discussed all their questions, difficulties, and concerns in one day. "Here's how we think it will work," Tina began, ignoring the fact that I hadn't said anything yet. "We want everyone to feel natural, so no turkey shit. We don't want it to feel like a process or a medical procedure. Treat her like you treat me. Make love to her. How does that sound?" I felt I had to be careful. How did that sound? Amazing. However, my first concern was my wife. I didn't want her to be jealous or have any negative feelings about it. "What did you think?" Tina looked at me thoughtfully for a moment. "I love you and I trust you. I love Sherry and I trust her. I know she would love to have a child. I've thought about it a lot. I've visualized it. All I see is two people I love sharing a special gift. I'd be happy to contribute." I tried to sound as stoic as possible. "Back off!" Tina pounced on me. "You'd love to sleep with Sherry, I know you would. What man wouldn't? I'm asking you, would you agree to be the father of Sherry's baby? And how would that work?" I continued to remain serious. "You'd be a great uncle," Tina said thoughtfully. "We'd probably have age-appropriate conversations when they got older. Daddy's seed and mommy's egg and all that. They'd know you're the biological father." For a few days I avoided answering that question, but answered with my own questions. I didn't want to seem too eager to jump into bed with Tina's best friend. I also didn't want Tina to feel uncomfortable in any way. I was very excited, but it wasn't worth it for our marriage and their friendship. And back to tonight and the question that was asked of me so directly. Critical moment. "Yes," I replied, "I would love to sleep with your best friend." Tina gave me a loving smile. She was going to get over it. Everything she did out of love for me and Sherry. Everything was going to be okay. She came over and kissed me very passionately. "I love you," she began. "I'm glad you're willing to do this for Sherry. I realize this is a big decision for you." "Sherry will be thrilled. I'll call her." I could only hear part of Tina's conversation from the other room. "Yes, he's happy," I heard Tina say. "We discussed everything in detail. I told him to treat you well." "Tuesday? Are you sure? Okay. Why don't you come over around 7 and we'll make dinner?" "For starters." Tina came back into the room to let me know that Sherry was very pleased. She also explained some scientific aspects of ovulation that I hadn't really paid attention to, but Tuesday was a good time to conceive. I'll clear your tubes tonight, and then no more ejaculation until Tuesday. That's 5 days without any sex. Also, I'll be with someone new. I was setting myself up for a quickie. I tried to explain this to Tina, and she suggested I take care of Sherry first. Then she proceeded to explain the practicalities. So, twice? I asked. Does she need to finish twice? I don't think she'll complain, Tina agreed. That evening we were busy as I needed to clean the pipes. Tina kept asking me questions about how excited I would be about doing it with Sherry. I wasn't entirely comfortable, but Tina seemed generally interested in my answers. I'm going to miss our sex, she whispered in my ear. For you it will be a 5-day wait. For me it will be almost 10 days. You'll need to load her up for at least 4 or 5 days in a row. If it doesn't work out this month, we'll do it again in a month. It doesn't sound sexy, but having your wife whisper it in your ear puts it in a whole different context. Tina leaned even closer to my ear. You know she's always had a bit of a crush on you. I think you're looking forward to seeing her? Tina smiled at me as I came to my senses after my ecstasy. The next night I was afraid to go to bed. I was horny thinking about my upcoming time with Sherry, and I knew I wasn't going to get anything tonight. Tina snuggled up to me, resting her head on my chest. No fair. Don't start something you can't finish. Don't worry, Tina smiled. It's just recharging the pump. I'm only going to push you to the limit, so you'll have something to treat Sherry to on Tuesday. Then she kissed me goodnight. I have a serious case on Tuesday, and I need to be as ready as I can be. Instead, I lay awake and thought about what was going to happen, or not. Tina continued her torture every night. By the end of the weekend, I was sure I was going to have an erotic dream before Tuesday even came. Tuesday came, and Tina made a wonderful dinner. Sherry showed up at 7 sharp in tight jeans and a casual blouse. As she walked through the door, she walked right up to me and kissed me on the lips. Good evening, temporary husband, she said. I need to clear this up before things get awkward. The three of us laughed. She was right. We had known each other too long to be awkward. Over dinner, we talked about everything else. When dinner was over, we got up to clear the table. Leave it to me, Tina said. Why don't you go ahead and get started? Are you going to be in the room? Sherry asked. That was the only part that wasn't discussed, which was funny, as were all the other details. You two go ahead. I'll come in after it's done, if that's okay with you. Sherry took my hand and led me into the bedroom. The sheets had been changed that day, and everything was clean and tidy. A couple candles were burning, filling the room with a pleasant scent. Sherry unbuttoned my shirt and took it off. She kissed my chest and whispered, "Thank you." She then unbuckled my belt and unbuttoned my jeans. I kissed Sherry hard and started unbuttoning my blouse. In a flash, she was riding my face. Oh my God, she exhaled. I'm ready. Referring to my wife while explaining how I was going to fuck her friend was weird. We climbed back onto the bed and she put a pillow under her ass. As you might expect, it didn't take long. Within a minute or two, I was at my peak. Oh, wow, Sherry exclaimed. Don't move, stay where you are. Don't pull out. Make me pregnant. We stayed in that position for about 10 minutes, smiling at each other. Every now and then, one of us would lean over or lift up for a deep kiss. After a while, I pulled away and fell on my side. Sherry pulled a pillow out from under her and turned on her side. I nestled behind her back, wrapping my arm around her waist. Thank you. Sherry's voice sounded like she was crying. It's okay. These are tears of happiness. I'm euphoric right now. I don't know if it was just the great sex or the idea of getting pregnant that did it, but I've never felt anything like this. Ever. We lay there and dozed off for a while. I heard Tina come in and climb into bed behind me. She kissed my neck and hugged me. Tina continued to kiss and nibble on my neck until she squeezed me tighter and shuddered. I needed this. she whispered. I wish I could have you, too. But it'll have to wait. The three of us fell asleep.